there is nothing that I hate more than seeing this kind of man ass.
Getting for sap, everyone.
I'm sick and tired of it, okay? Twitch needs to take action. Twitch needs to take action and initiative against these goddamn ethos, okay? These goddamn ethos are out of control. But yeah, no, the sauce is really good, obviously, as you guys know. And I'm very happy for him. I'm very excited that my man is doing incredible things. If you got banned, would your fan channels get banned? Wait, what?
No.
Banned on YouTube, you mean? I don't think so. I don't mind it. You could do some of this too hot instead of being a hater, lol. Yeah. So you do know yesterday's stream was breaking TOS since for simulcasting both platforms supposed to have the same experience so that there isn't funneling. Dude, this is my favorite type of person.
Bro,
the guy
no
who
one
like
cares.
comes in here and is like what defending Twitch terms of service or something, and it's like I don't understand it. Like, don't worry, dog. Let me do me. Okay, you do you. If you would like to, you can go and like take it up with the authorities, I guess. But like, I don't understand why you're for free, pro bono, like defending what you think is the concept of a Twitch terms of service. I was just asking, sorry. Okay, well then don't ask like that. I mean, you said you do know yesterday's stream was breaking TOS since simulcasting for both platforms is supposed to have the same EXP so that there isn't funneling. And for the record, no, my goal is to simulcast to funnel it back to Twitch. That's how I started off. People don't know this, but I started off simulcasting on Facebook. I had a big audience on Facebook. It will give you a bottle of the hot sauce. Will has given me many bottles of the hot sauce. I've already finished. Let me give him the whole link. So I started off streaming on Facebook, and I would like draw traffic back to YouTube.
You send him the whole playlist.
And basically, what I ended up doing was the same. What I wanted to do was the same. I had streamed on YouTube before. I'd live streamed on YouTube before. Like I started live streaming on Twitch. Or like around the same time, just to, you know, see what was what.
There we go. Anyone else for
sub? Overall,
brings all the boys but there turns out the boys are.
I think like YouTube live streaming has its benefits, I guess, from an audience perspective, but it certainly has a lot of.
Holy moly!
It certainly has a lot of negatives. I think it has more negatives on the streamer side. It's just harder to control. It's harder to moderate. It's just simply worse user experience for the content creator overall. What time is Jeremy Scahill coming on for us commuting chatters? Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Jeremy Scahill is a legendary investigative reporter, one of the GOATs. Like, up there with, let's say if Glenn Greenwald never, like, let's say if Glenn Greenwald just retired in like 2000, when would it be? Like 2016, right? Co-founder of The Intercept. Like Jeremy Scahill is like if Glenn Greenwald retired.
All right, we're going to start SAP in a minute. All right.
And I love him, and we are going to have him on. Actually, I guess Greenwald still has some good reporting after 2016, to be fair. He did the car wash stuff, too. His team was pretty good.
And I'm probably only going to be live for another hour.
Credit where it's due. Glenn has done good work on Israel. Yeah, brother, but, like, you know.
Because I've got to be up early tomorrow, but not that early.
So, YouTube live stream pros and cons. Pro, myth, con, Ludwig. Agreed. Overall, we'll see. I'll keep doing more tests like this. I think the utility that I see, because considering my goal always is to just like draw traffic back to my Twitch stream, like unconditionally. That's my major goal. I think it was relatively successful at the end of the YouTube live stream when the Twitch stream traffic doubled immediately. It went from like 10K, or not doubled, but like it went from 10K to 15K, like that, as soon as the YouTube live stream ended. Now, that could be because that many people went from Twitch to YouTube to watch it on YouTube because they wanted to see the full debate. Or it could be because, that, like all those people that went to YouTube came back to Twitch, but then also some new people from YouTube came back. But yeah, overall, brother, answer the question. 1 p.m. Jeremy Scahill will be coming on 1 p.m. Pacific. 1 p.m. Pacific. If people are watching on mobile, then they have to switch between the two, and watching one pauses the other. Yeah, that's true. Police rude chatter. I mean, they're right.
No worries, Noto. Okay, we're gonna
Jeremy
start
Scahill
now.
also is the host of the one of my favorite podcasts, Intercepted.
Okay.
You need to do the inverse of last night, where YouTube is muted, but on Twitch you're live reacting to the new Cardi album. Yeah, something like that could work. Anyway, regardless,
Motherly.
I tried.
The sizzling.
And overall, I don't know
gems.
if it's worth the hassle. I don't really. I mean, I care about my YouTube page. Obviously, it's good to have a broad array, a diverse. It's good to be on every platform, and it's good to be successful on every platform because it feeds into like overall having having your message be heard by more people. There's also the bigger the number, better the person, the better person type attitude online and everywhere else. So like obviously that factors into it too. It gives you more legitimacy. People are like, oh yeah, a lot more people watch him. So I agree.
How do you get good at celebrity boss? You play the game.
And he got last night. Timestamp 33.20 for the best bit. Oh no, I'm gonna do the Jason Whitlock coverage too. Don't worry. I've been excited for this. Not the biggest fan of what's his face? Stephen A. Smith. But having said that, he ethered Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock, for those of you who don't know, is a Candace Owens style person. He is I guess kind of a sports commentator, but like more so he's just known as like the black guy that will say the most unhinged white supremacist things on Fox News. So that's like, yeah, he's on the failed in his own individual pipeline and media, and then immediately turned heel and like slowly but surely, or maybe organically, became more and more reactionary guy. So that's right. Let's do it. All right. Let me blast off real quick. In 30 seconds, explain what the fuck Fenpen is saying about white farmers in South Africa. Yeah.
No,
I don't think
no,
he's like.
no. Don't
who
even
knows
go
what
there.
he was saying?
Don't even fucking go there.
Who knows what he was saying? Just saying stuff. Okay. ICJ genocide case against Israel. Jeremy Scahill. Taylor Swift. Fox News claims Taylor Swift. Government PSYOP. ICJ case. Trump. Town Hall. The disastrous CNN GOP debate. And more. Now. Okay, so yeah, the ICJ stuff is like, if you were to take, oh yeah, Trump's civil court case too. That's another one. Trump Town Hall. Trump civil case. Kind of in awe, worried how little the U.S. media covered the ICJ trial hearings today. Didn't say shit. They're covering it a little bit, but the reality of the matter is, chat. Of course they're not gonna. Of course they're not gonna cover it that much. Did you watch Lady Ballers? Don't. It wasn't fun bad, just so boring. That is what I've heard. That's what I've heard for the most part. So yeah. Let's get started. Do we have a good blast off meme for this? Do we have a blast off meme that's not tunnel related? Idea of losing in Gaza. I mean, they're losing in the same way that, you know, a colonial occupier would lose, in the sense that, you know, this is a classic resistance technique, which is for every you kill 10 of our people, for every 10 we kill one of yours, you get tired first. It's the Ho Chi Minh strategy, right? The death of an Israeli occupying force soldier has significantly larger consequences on Israel than the death of a Hamas militant has, as it pertains to keeping up the resistance against the devastating occupying force that is Israel. So Palestinians have not really anywhere to go. We also don't have a single meme. What's going on, guys? No, not a single meme for the blast off? What's happening? Kind of shocking. I'm shocked to the core, chat.
Let's see. Okay, buddy.
Some conservative podcaster brought you up to Hunter Biden outside the Capitol. Wait, what? Is this a poop sock? What is this? Oh, God damn it. Aphex Twizzy. You deserve it. You deserve this. You deserve a day off. Take a day off.
It was a wet fart.
You've been testing my patience nonstop. I should have never clicked on your link. I didn't even realize what your username was, and I accidentally clicked on your link. I should not have done that, and I should have just continued. I should have maintained my composure. Now you take a day off for this reason. Do we have a good meme? Blast off with or not? That's the question. I don't know what this One Piece related edit is, but
Don't you give up? Nah.
This is cute.
Sorry.
This is cute.
Sorry, it was. I was on OK Buddy and it autoplayed. Sorry. Oh my God, I apologize. Fuck, I'm sorry. Autoplay. I was scrolling through.
The way that like certain images online don't let you save it, and then you just have to go.
Sorry.
And then you have to go and like screenshot it, and then the screenshotting process on MacBooks are just like significantly better.
That is true.
IDF is taking L's, but the Goon Squad is taking W's. Oh, dude, yeah, I know. Big day.
Yeah, it was the Grandpa
Big day
Hospital
today.
meme, yeah.
Here, let me blast off real good. Okay, let me blast off so hard. The IDF Goon Squad is up my ass, trying to extract semen from my cadaver through a, in their words, cavity. That's right. Everything I just said, you might think is gross to bring up and say. However, it actually is the case. It's what they're doing. Not even a joke. I wish it was a joke. It's not a joke. I promise you, it's crazy. Here it is. Here it is, folks. Fox News claims Taylor Swift government psyop. ICJ genocide case against Israel with Jeremy Scahill. Trump town hall. Trump civil case. The disastrous CNN GOP debate and more. Get in now. This is the blast off. Let's get started. Oh, the ratings are in. Oh, very excited to see this. Let's see if I was right. Fox News' town hall with Trump averaged 4.3 million views between 9 and 10 p.m. last night. CNN's debate with DeSantis and Haley averaged 2.5 million in the same hour. Both totals would be higher when repeats and streams are counted, but Trump is the clear victor. I told you. Oh, God. This is one of those cases where, like, it does feel good to be right because it's not, like, one of those, like, super high-stakes moments. Okay? But I told you. Also, overall, disastrous. This is a disastrous performance for debates in general, I suspect. Anyway, what a phenomenal disaster. What an absolutely just unimaginable disaster of epic proportions. You need to adjust for average viewership, though? Absolutely not. Here's why. Okay, here's why this is an unimaginably disastrous. Hey, but it's not quite 2x the number of viewers. Everything's coming up liberalism. What do you mean?
What is that chatter on about? I won't give up now.
You should consider having some guests for the next simulcast. I feel like that could help out somewhat. Maybe. San Francisco Board of Supervisors voted a call for a ceasefire. People are downplaying it, but I don't know. It's still a significant sentiment. Yeah. Sure, we'll talk about it. Of course, you write about insignificant things like this debate. Never write about stuff that actually matters, like Russia invading Ukraine. Yeah. So I told you overall what was going to happen. I told you that CNN is doing this content play. It seems CNN's desperate attempts at captivating, or it seems like CNN's desperate attempts at trying to capture a conservative audience
right after it came down
is a massive failure.
I will give up now.
At what cost?
Let me love you.
Definitely an analog here for the Democratic Party and its consistent capitulation to right-wing sentiment.
My virgin years, lol. Lol.
Desperate attempt at capturing. Wait. Yeah, it seems CNN's desperate attempts at capturing a conservative audience is a massive failure. Definitely an analog here for the Democratic Party and its consistent capitulation to right-wing sentiment. I'm just saying, stop doing it. Be your own person. Be your own person, okay? Do your own goddamn thing. Finkelstein believes the ICJ judges will ultimately vote according to the whims of their home country. American judge will be beholden to USA interests instead of voting impartially. Do you believe this is accurate? I mean, I believe there's only one instance where that, I mean, not one instance, but like there has been an instance where the American judge has actually not voted with American interest in mind, but, you know, it can go along like that.
I won't give up now.
I think there could be a good reason why CNN did not offer any pushback. Trump fans are not watching. It's mostly liberals watching. CNN allowed them to show the worst of the Republican Party to scare liberals into voting for Joe Biden by showing how bad Republicans are. I disagree. I think that is like a level of copium that is a QAnon level almost. No, I think that CNN very openly and very actively is trying to, and they've said this already,
I need to get some ice from
tailor their content towards a more conservative audience in mind.
Once this,
I think that they are hemorrhaging viewership like every news outlet.
But I'll wait until this runs
the
over.
News and does politics, myself included. That's obviously partially because
CNN has always been right,
news and politics is nowhere near as interesting for many people. I think the fact that I have been able to maintain any audience whatsoever, especially in the demographics that I normally retain viewership in, is a profound achievement overall, considering that like CNN is having a hard time and they capture the audience that cares about the news, right? I talk to the 18 to 35-year-olds, which is an audience that doesn't really care about the news. Overall, this is not an audience that is really in tune with what's going on in the world. So the fact that there's still like plenty of people in here interested is legitimately, in my opinion, a profound success overall.
Okay, I'll be back in a second.
We planning on talking about Trump's New York court appearance? Yes. We are. Spelling mistake in your tweet? Oh, I don't care. Whatever. Yeah, I said disastrous, but with an E when there's no E there. Okay. Democracy Now! Is picking up a bit of traction in viewership recently. Yeah, but that's neither here nor there, right? That's not like that's a blip on the radar. So what was I saying? Where was I?
All right, I'm back.
Seems like Fox is definitely targeting their focus toward a younger demographic these days. I don't know. A younger demographic. So what? Instead of 85-year-olds, they're looking for what? 80-year-olds? Give news. Weather and politics, I'm here. Talk about drama online or your personal crap, you lost. Thank you, the Diggy Man. Ironic, because if I was talking about drama and online stuff more frequently, I would most likely have a much larger audience. That's what most people online care about rather than the real news. I try to balance it as best as I can. So, anyway, regardless. Keemstar arc when? Yes, I do know. For the record, let me answer your question. Kendall, does bro know his notification caption is still like this from January 6th? Or are we just doing an insurrection every day?
So true.
The answer is yes, I am familiar.
I'm ripperoniing. Okay.
Not about other people. Plenty of regular chatters dip out the second.
Safkins really are on top today.
Okay, Hidejo offliner. And plenty of new chatters coming. Everybody always thinks like when they tune out of the stream, Sean and his followers are actually just cowards. When plenty of people just
yeah, I know.
Think that like once they tune out of the stream, like it's over. The stream ended for everybody. It's done. Career
by
ender.
the rant. Oh my god, Jason, no. This is gonna weaken the rant.
It's all good. All right. Where was I? All right, let's before I get to the ICJ stuff, obviously, I'll start off with some light stuff here. Trump delivers remarks and closing arguments in a civil fraud trial, which of course led to his closing arguments actually being stopped by the judge. Because, God damn it, folks, this is a banana republic. Okay, let me tell you, they do not want honest, brave, patriotic men to speak truth to power. Okay? That's right. Some people, like Judge Engoron, are terrified.
Damn.
Are terrified of the
well done, forensics.
The honesty and bravery exhibited by
a little bit of a cheat code, but whatever.
Donald Trump. This, of course, came after the closing argument. But I suspect this is what he wanted to say. He basically pulled a shower argument moment after. Now, he didn't have to go to this civil case. He did not have to attend this case proceedings at all. He did it anyway. So what did he do? Well, his lawyer asks for permission to have Trump speak. Engoron says, do you promise to just comment on the facts and the law? Trump doesn't even respond and immediately starts talking without agreeing to Judge Engoron's question. He starts saying this. I'm going to read it out to you. This was a political witch hunt. We should receive damages for what they have taken our company through. They have no documents. They have nothing. The only thing they have, Trump concedes, is the triplex, which was a mistake. I'm not sure the dollar amount would have been that far off if you want to know. But Trump continues, I am an innocent man. I have been politically persecuted. This statute is vicious. What has happened here is a fraud on me. The amount of taxes I've paid over this period is close to $300 million. They don't want me here anymore. I have a problem. They want to make sure I don't run again. Trump goes on without any interruption from Engoron or her team and attacks Letitia James, accusing her of election interference, says, you have your own agenda. Trump angrily says to Engoron, you can't listen for more than 1 minute. And then Engoron, the judge, finally pleads with Mr. Keys, I don't know how you say his last name, and says, please control your client. Trump nonetheless accuses Letitia James, the Attorney General, of going after him for political gain. Again, or not Attorney General, sorry, Letitia James is a DA, District Attorney, right? I think Letitia James is the District Attorney of New York and not, or no, she is the Attorney General. She used to be a District Attorney, and she is the Attorney General now. So, yeah. From the Southern District of New York. All right, so anyway.
Oh, damn, okay. That was quick. I'm getting owned. All right, let's think about this then.
And then he says Letitia James is going after him for political gain, including an allegedly failed run for governor, at which point Engoron shuts it down. But it's too late. Everything Trump wanted to say was said. And now, having said it, he has left the courtroom after insisting James should pay him for the havoc she's wreaked on his company. So some of the asks from prosecution are, I believe, $370 million in damages for the false representation of the property value in general. Another ask, I think, is to permanently bar Trump from doing business in New York, and on top of that, bar his children from also doing business in New York for at least 5 years. Those are the asks from.
Damn, I'm getting fucking owned. South Africa's no longer on top,
and
dude.
Considering
why
how unimaginably and ruthlessly brutal he has been to both the judge, who literally received, apparently, death threats and bomb threats before the final day where he was supposed to hear closing remarks from Trump supporters.
I mean, why not?
I don't know what will happen. But what I do know is that's probably not a good thing, okay? I mean, I think unconditionally, across the board, bomb threats and death threats, not great, right? Like, and I'm not even talking like top of the hour bad. Like top of the hour ad break, not great. Bomb threats, really not great, okay? Like if Judge Engoron was watching a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour, I'm sure he'd feel some type of way, unless he was subscribed, at which point he could avoid it. Bomb threats and death threats, on the other hand, definitely not good, okay? Especially when you're like a judge. Here's a 3-minute ad break. Now, by the way, you can avoid it by subscribing for $5 or for free.
Bro,
or
South
by getting
Africa posting so hard in his Sods chat.
That's
I'm like,
Engoron.
South Africa did not like that ad break.
So, that's so brave of you to say. Yes, bomb
Give
threats
it
are
a
bad.
4 out of 10.
Okay, exactly. That's, you come here for the brave takes. Anyway, let's hear from our brave boy, though.
Before experts,
Yeah, I'm very as South African.
and do I think any of it mattered? I certainly hope so. But for anybody that was in the courtroom for the last 11 weeks, you heard that there was not one fact against President Trump. There was not one piece of paper
well done to Newville.
that showed anyone committed fraud. And don't forget that Section 6312, a consumer fraud statute, has been wrongfully used against my client.
Same pack, yeah, let's do it.
Innocent defendants, the organization
Get in,
and
everyone.
every employee of the Trump organization, which has single-handedly changed the New York skyline, including the building we are in today.
Yes, this is the person speaking right now is Alina Habba, also known as the gamer lawyer.
These are special properties. Real estate is an art, not a science.
That's awesome. She's great. I'm, when I hear stuff like that, I understand why Trump selected her to be the trial lawyer here.
But you know what else is an art? You know what else isn't a science? Political motivated individuals. She's using this to paint a canvas.
Awesome.
That Donald Trump is a fraudster because they can't beat him in the polls. They can't beat him in the polls, so she ran on Trump because that was the only way she could win. And now, today, after 11 weeks, after 3 years, we have concluded that he indeed committed no wrong. The Trump organization committed no wrong, and the kids have been dragged in just like the other defendants, and it is wrong.
The kids. I love thinking about, like, Trump's sons as just the kids. Let's see. Trump sons ages. Yeah, it's like, yeah, look at this, dude. You got one that's 40 years old and the other that's 46. She's not talking about Barron Trump, who's 17. She's talking about
get in for SAP, everyone.
She's talking about the other two fail sons, not Barron. Barron must be protected. He's like 6'8". He's gonna be a baller. He's the next out. Okay, he's going to 5-star camp. That's the next Jokic. Okay, that's the next Joker. So, the idea that Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump are just kids is pretty awesome.
America needs to step up, and there's only one person who can do that. My client, Donald Trump. President Trump, everybody.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we've gone through years with this person. She's a political hack, the attorney.
Chat, there's a non-zero chance I can get Hassan to play Bunny Chow later. I'll be like, please play the South African banger.
May surprise people on a positive.
I'll try.
See what happens exactly. But proven this case so conclusively.
No, I'm joking. You probably will ignore it. To be honest with you, it's serious. Like, you know what I mean?
Facts. They don't have any evidence against us. Millions and millions of pages, years of.
Do they think they can just talk their way out of all these charges? I actually don't understand. What is this? When the world thinks you're a gamer because the court's live transcript feed computer is placed in front of you? Wait. Trump's lawyer sports gamer laptop at
It's
$250.
Kotaku.
Wait, no, she's not a gamer? That's... I love how trashy she is. I would risk it all. Yeah, that makes me sad. All right.
The Antwoord, oh god.
I mean, it's a big benefit
No,
for
I don't
her,
want the Antwoord to represent South
like,
Africa. I'm sorry.
I will admit, when I thought she was a League of Legends player, that made me think less of her. Not the fact that she's Donald Trump's, like, probably worse lawyer. But the fact that she...
Last call for SAP.
The fact that
Get
we even
in.
speculate that she may be playing League is, like, definitely a way worse mark on her. So... Anyway, getting back to the matter at hand here,
Israel.
There was, you asked, like, oh, do you think they think that they're going to talk themselves out of these charges? And I actually don't really know.
Oh my god.
How rich people operate.
BMG.
In this circumstance, like Alex Jones' defamation suit, right? Alex Jones' defamation suit led him to, have to pay like $1 billion. And he's still in operation, and it seems like he's still doing it. And it's the same for like Donald Trump. Like, I don't know if he has a lot of money.
Disgusting freaks, yeah.
I don't know if he has like I don't know how many billions he actually does have, right?
No, Bunny actually comes from
like, what's he thinking? He's just gonna give 300. He's gonna make
Indian,
this payment. I guess he'll like hold it up in
South
courts,
Africa. It doesn't actually mean like
with
Bunny as in bun.
for as many years as he possibly can.
Bro, that's insane.
Right? Hassan, you are rich. Stop LARPing as a socialist. Sarcasm. Yes. Yeah, I am. I mean, I don't know how rich Trump is. I might be just as rich as he is, to be honest. But that's not necessarily because I'm super caked up. It's just he's a broke boy, is my suspicion. So I don't know.
That'll be the picture of SA judges, not even on the legal team. Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't know why they do this kind of stuff. Like, they get involved.
Just click on Bemji's link.
Battles,
I'm not even showing it. It's so disgusting.
Massive trial awards, right? And it doesn't make any sense. Like,
all right.
What the goal is, what the momentum
is. Gonna start sapping 30 seconds. Get
how
in.
you deal with it after the fact, what the repercussions are if you don't actually pay, or what the payouts look like by the end of this process when you do actually pay it off, or you're forced to pay it off many, many years in the future. I don't know. I mean, these guys are like the second defamation suit for E. Carroll was one of those questions I had.
Insanely racist,
why?
dude.
It's so easy to just not defame this person immediately after you lost the defamation suit, which Trump did. He went on CNN and he defamed the person who he had recently lost a defamation suit to in the exact same way. And for me, like, I don't know what the purpose of that is. Like, is it worth it?
Giggling soup.
Is it worth it? Like, or does he think he's just going to get away with it? I don't really understand that at all. And I don't understand this at all either. I mean, I get it. For him, this is like a $370 million penalty that he is going to use as yet another instance of like political persecution. He's being attacked. He's being attacked for his political beliefs. That's what he is using this for. He's using this as another stepping stone or a soapbox moment, I guess. Like, look at me. The elites are coming after me. And they're not just coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just in the way. Right? That sort of thing. So I don't know. I don't really know what his goals are here.
Litigation and all politically motivated. She campaigned on I will get Trump. If you've ever seen any of her clips, they're horrible clips, actually. The anger, she's got serious Trump derangement.
I might try praying mantis, see if it's going to work.
Attorney General of New York. So we've proven our case. There's not one witness against us other than one person who is a deranged. He's got a lot of problems. He's a man who's been convicted of lying. He's a felon, convicted felon, and not a good person.
Seems like his goals are to be president. Yes, I think that his goals are to be president no matter what the cost. And partially because, I think he seriously thinks that he might get legal repercussions if he doesn't make it. If he doesn't make it out the mud, he's worried. If he doesn't become the Republican Party's candidate,
all right,
or if he doesn't actually, take it to the
savings, we're saving.
If he doesn't have the base of support,
we're saving
the institutional powers within the Republican Party and all of its organs, all of its instruments, like Fox News and like all of those think tanks, come to defend him, he might get cooked.
Jellyfish is fucking mid, though. Let's see.
To get cooked. Because, like, normal presidents, what do they do?
Okay.
They go in.
No. We'll do one more Beetle, don't worry.
In and out. They do the president thing, okay? They do a bunch of war crimes. And then what do? They retire, and they go hang out with billionaires like Richard Branson. And they do podcasts, and they do Netflix specials. I'm talking about Obama, obviously. Like, Trump is not interested in any of that, right? Like, or Jeffrey Epstein with Bill Clinton. They paint like George W. Bush. Overall, they just kind of chill out. They write books. They make a couple $1 million doing speaking tours here and there, speaking engagements. Trump, on the other hand, is, brother, you've been saying this is the day he will face legal repercussions for years now. You sure this time? My friend, if you think I've been saying this is the day he will face legal repercussions, and not just he thinks he's going to face legal repercussions, I think you've gravely misunderstood what I'm saying. I've always maintained the position that
South African
he thinks he's going to.
Chow.
Just now, earlier, just a moment ago, I said Trump thinks at the very least he is going to face legal repercussions, whether that is true or not.
All right.
The idea that I'm one of these like Blue Anon style, this is surely going to get him now type liberals is pretty funny. I like that.
No, I want to save it, so we'll do this.
But that's their only witness, and he's now crashed and burned. They have no witnesses. And by the way, that witness took back everything that he said. He took back everything he said in court, took it all back. So they have no case. It's a shame that a thing like this is able to happen. Businesses leave New York. She went after Exxon, and they decided to move to Texas. And hundreds of millions of dollars they pay in taxes. I paid over $300 million of taxes over the last number of years. $300 million. And they don't recognize that. They don't recognize anything. So think of it, not one witness, millions of pages of document, years of this nonsense, and now it goes on. And one other factor, we won this case already in the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals voted in favor of us. But this judge has been very, very slow to accept that opinion because that's not the opinion that he wants. But we won in the Court of Appeals. That's the boss of this judge. He has to know that. And it was a conclusive victory, statute of limitations and other things.
I love my bunny chow, South African food. I love my bunny chow, so tasty, very good. I love my bunny chow, in my belly. Okay, yeah, I'm just getting fucking owned. I need some tanks.
Because we have it, and it's been a very successful building.
So annoying.
But it's a shame to have gone through this for years and years and years, and now we'll see if we're going to get an honest verdict. We didn't have a jury. We had no rights to a jury. It's a statute that's never been used before for a purpose like this. I just watched a certain broadcast, and they said, they've been looking, has it ever been used before? This is a statute that's a consumer fraud statute, never been used for anything like this before, and it's a shame. It's really it's a witch hunt in the truest sense of the word.
All right, early fucking hippo is mad good.
Came out. This was just
yeah, dude. It's like, I mean, it's pretty funny to consider everything election interference. Like, if you are caught doing a crime or something, right? If you've like defrauded people, right? All you need to do is run for president. And then you could just say, they're coming after me because I'm running for president. And there's probably enough people, as long as you have the dumbest ideas of all time, there's going to be enough simps and stans on whichever respective stan Twitter space that you are occupying that will believe you and go, no, that's right, actually. Awesome.
I love how everybody today was like, you know what's great? Is today nobody told me I was British. Out of respect. And yeah, thank you. Like, finally.
Then run for president.
10 minutes ago I got it. And so it's all a conspiracy to try and get Biden
we told
to
them.
Get 2 sentences together, trying to get him into office. So I just want to let you know that we have our best poll numbers, we have the best everything, despite this, and maybe because of this, because the people of the United States, all of those people back there, but the people of the United States really get it. They get it better than anybody else. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, do you agree with your lawyers what they said on
I have to pee.
Tuesday, that you should not be prosecuted or could not be prosecuted if you ordered SEAL Team 6 to kill a political opponent?
Well, you're talking about a totally different case, the immunity. I say this, on immunity, very simple. If a president of the United States does not have immunity, he'll be totally ineffective because he won't be able to do anything because it will mean he'll be prosecuted, strongly prosecuted, perhaps.
Saying the quiet part out loud, dude.
By the opposing party. So a president of the United States, I'm not talking
I'm gonna
just
roll,
me, I'm talking
because I think I'll win the next one.
Has to have immunity. As an example, Biden could come out and you could get him on the border. You could get him on what happened in Afghanistan. The horrible,
no, you couldn't.
Most embarrassing moment in the history of this country.
That you organized Okay, sorry. This is me being libbed up. I'm talking to. This is like what Austin does when he comes on Hassan's stream. He like literally talks like this is the most. That is my most liberal thing. Fucking like talking as if Trump can fucking hear me. Oh my god.
It was a quid pro quo, if you remember that. If they don't drop the prosecutor, we're not giving them $1 billion of U.S. funds. If you don't have immunity, you can.
I just need to do the leftist thing and laugh.
Any decision, so you have to have it, and I liken it to the fact that police have to have their control back. They have to have respect, and you can always have a bad apple. You can always have something happen.
This is my favorite type of argument for crime and policing in America. Is that because they quite literally have everything that they possibly could get? Because cops, as I jokingly say all the time, live in like a Nordic-style social democracy, while the rest of us are not in that at all.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? I mean, unless you're like unless you've reached like the top 1% of wealth, when you're functionally a god king. And I know this, obviously you're going to be like, says you, but, yeah, exactly. You're in the United States of America, if you're like working a regular wage job, okay, you don't have any of the amenities, right? You don't have any of the labor protections. Whereas, if you're a cop, it's as though if you are like a steel mill worker in Germany, right? You get the health care, you get the pension, you get job security, you get all of that.
You're not called a Jason,
they have
friends.
all of that and then some, with qualified immunity, offering them so much protection to be above the law, you finally arrive at a position
RNG's
where
not on my side
you want
either.
to say, like, what can we do to improve cops' living conditions or job conditions? You basically have to say, they don't get enough respect from the American population. Because when you talk about nurses, or when you talk about any other real job, for example, when you talk about nurses, when you talk about teachers, when you talk about any number of real jobs, like, there are so many obvious issues with that profession that you can point to that desperately needs fixing. Nurses are understaffed in hospitals deliberately by hospital administrators, right? Teachers are underfunded. They don't get paid enough. And the public school system is fundamentally broken. Hold on. So it's like, you don't see teacher flags on the back of pickup trucks? No, my point is, because cops have basically everything. Because cops have basically everything they want, everything they need, the only thing that remains that they don't have in that situation is like the respect of the American population. So now that's what your complaint is. Like, oh, the police are not being respected enough. And it's like, well, how are you going to enforce that? What are you going to make it illegal to like,
fuck, I don't know what to
things
do,
about
dude.
cops is now a hate crime or something? Like, it's just so dumb.
You probably would have been better, but you already go to those two. Maybe.
You have
Okay.
to stop crime in this country. It's very much like that. It's very similar to that. But you have to have immunity for a president.
Legally, you must compliment a cop.
I've read a lot of legal reports lately and scholarly reports that are saying you really have to have a president of this country has to have immunity, or they're not going to be able to function in office. Yeah, Bob?
President Trump, we're just days away from the Iowa caucuses. What percentage of your time these days is spent on your campaign, and what percentage is spent on your legal issues?
Well, see, my legal issues, every one of them, everyone, civil and the criminal ones, are all set up by Joe Biden, crooked Joe Biden. This is something that's never happened in this country. Even when you look at this is all about Biden and her meeting.
They're gonna turn policing into a protected class and it'll be considered hate speech? No, it'll be the only hate speech. Okay? The only time hate speech is real is if you are criticizing a cop. Okay? or the state of Israel. Not Jews, the state of Israel. You can be anti-Semitic, and that's fine. That's not real hate speech. But if you criticize the state of Israel, that's hate speech. The only two real hate speeches in the United States of America is criticism of the state of Israel and criticism of police officers. Okay? Every other group, marginalized identity, ethnic background, none of that is what constitutes for real hate speech. I mean, even Elon Musk is trying to do the cis is a slur thing.
And people have been banned for using the term cis on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah, he's trying to do the cis is a slur. The real hate speech is against white people, is against cisgender people. It's against cops, and it's against the state of Israel.
So even the civil ones, this is civil, they're set up by Biden. Every single, just about, case that I'm involved in is set up by Biden. They're doing it for election interference. And in a way, I guess you'd consider it part of the campaign, because if you really look at it...
No foreign sticks, don't do that. Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not. Foreign sticks.
It's like we're a third world country, a banana republic.
Do not do that.
Every one of the things that
I
you write
cannot
about,
help you if Twitch bans you, okay? Do not do that. Do not go against the filters that we put in place.
we just had a
I love you. It doesn't matter if you censored it, chat. Like it's very clear. Do not go around the restrictions of chat. We put them there for a reason. It's to protect me, okay? And it's to protect you. All right.
Joe Biden and his thugs that surround him did it. They're trying to
Much
get a
love,
man
though.
in
I love
office
you,
that
foreign
can't put
sticks.
two
Just
sentences
don't get
together,
please don't
and they're
get
doing
upset
that.
or worried.
But so
No
far
worries.
we
But
seem to do very well.
it's to protect you, okay?
Hi, come here.
Back and forth with the Eugene Carroll case on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, that's another
Good.
one.
All right.
That's,
Sometimes
sponsored by Reid
chatters get
Hoffman
upset
and
if
some
I
Democrat operatives. I never saw this
pull them out, and
woman
I don't
in
want
my
people
life
getting
other than to
upset.
have a picture with her and her husband, John Johnson, a nice guy who was a newscaster many years ago. I remember him, and she said horrible things about him since. I mean, horrible, horrible things, called him bad names. I have no idea who this woman is. I have absolutely no idea. The whole thing
who
is
this
ridiculous
woman is.
that this is even a case. This should never have happened. But again, this is sponsored by the Democrats. It's another case. All sponsored by, it's a demeaning kind of a thing.
It's the Democrats, folks.
It's called election interference.
All right, please.
And yeah, I'm going to go to it. And I'm going to explain. I don't know who the hell she is. I have no idea. They called me up years ago.
Horrible.
And they said, do you know about this woman 25 or 30 years ago? She doesn't even know the date, the time, the month, the season. She has no idea. And if you read it, if you watch, take a look at the Anderson Cooper interview of her. And if you take a look at that, Trump is so innocent. But we have been given a very unfair trial there, too. I don't get very fair trials in New York.
Have you made a decision about whether you're going to show up for the federal trials? You've showed up here in New York for your civil fraud trial. You've just said you're going to show up for the Eugene Carroll case. Are you planning to show up in court when they begin, whenever they begin?
Sure,
Sure.
I would do that. Well, the documents case,
I'll
just
be
hear
there
where they
no
want to try and
matter
exonerate
what.
Biden, and he didn't have the Presidential Records Act, and I do. What I did, nothing wrong. What he did, a lot of people say
Wrong.
substantially wrong. You can't have two tiers of justice in this country. But no, I want to go to all of my trials. These are all set up by Biden and the Democrats. This is
Big Titty Goth Girl, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. This guy said man, woman, camera, child was a big achievement. It was. Perhaps the biggest achievement. Okay, low-key, though, looking at the state of affairs with respect to Brandon, it is technically kind of a big achievement, especially when you consider, like, whether or not Biden could do that currently. I'm just saying. Think about that.
their new form of cheating. This is, like last time, this is their new form of cheating. So far, I think it's gone very much against them. Yeah, please.
Yes, during the hearing, you said that Exxon left New York.
I don't know what is a good meta for this weekly. I still don't understand.
No, they took the rest of their divisions out. Yeah. They left earlier. They were treated very badly in New York. You could have had them in New York. They could have been paying a lot of money.
But it wasn't Letitia James.
Oh, no, I think if you take a look, you read the case, study the case, you'll see that they took big divisions out after that. They originally left, and then they took the rest out.
You just said you could get President Biden on various issues you outlined.
I didn't say I could get him on anything. I said he is using the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI to go after his political opponent.
What is life like on Bitch Island? I don't know. Ask your mom.
Thank you very much.
Coward. I'm just saying, he said he was going to do that and then didn't, okay?
Let's go.
Which is like, can we gift Kaya subs? Yes, of course. All of your gifted subs technically do go to Kaya anyway, regardless, because that's what I spend my money on. This is such a tired old argument. He keeps saying Biden is demented, mentally inept, but he's in the same sense saying Biden is...
There's some high damage, give them the lolly and level them up. Maybe. True. You are right, actually.
Recognize. Why can't Biden do that if he has immunity? What do you mean? He said that Biden can be prosecuted because of border policy?
Oh, I could have actually bought that and had then the two.
Nothing that Donald Trump says makes sense. Because on the one hand, he's saying as president, he should have immunity from crimes.
The goldfish, yeah, true.
That he's committed. Meanwhile, all of his defenders said during the impeachment process, let the courts handle it. And then now that the court is trying to handle it, his lawyers are saying, no, he should still have immunity as president. While also, simultaneously, he's saying he should have immunity, but also Joe Biden is prosecutable as president. Because this is a weird bind that people find themselves in. And if they're looking for like honesty or moral consistency here, you're not going to get that. There's no intellectual honesty here. It's just about self-preservation. Okay? It's always...
We're surviving.
It's okay when I do it. It's not okay when anyone else that I don't like does it. That's the whole point.
So does this count?
He said if presidents don't have immunity, then Biden could be prosecuted for XYZ.
Oh, it does count. Okay, cool.
Yes, except he's also advocating for Biden to be prosecuted. That's the whole point. He's saying, I should have immunity. If you don't give me immunity, then Biden could be prosecuted. And actually, as a matter of fact, Biden should be prosecuted. Do you not see how stupid that is? Like, think about that for a second. Just for 1 second. Now, of course, liberal academia won't agree with
Only
them.
tier 1 pets.
Liberal academia. Now, obviously, Kaya's collar might be on too tight. You are delusional, my friend. That's not the case at all. Her collar is literally so loose that it can come off. She's just fuzzy. She's just fluffy. I've talked about this quite a bit, and I guess, it bears repeating because there's always new people in the chat who are unfamiliar with this process. If Trump can be prosecuted for things he did while he was in office as president, which he should be, because every man should be equal under the rule of law, right, in the criminal justice system, then so can previous presidents. And in a just world, I agree with that. And that should extend to actual war crimes as well, things that presidents have done at the behest of American empire. However, what is this? What is this? What is going on? Now, it won't, but there's also a way where Trump can get prosecuted given the uniqueness of his crimes. Because Trump's crimes do not pertain to advancing American empire's interests. He's done that as well, obviously, but he's not being prosecuted for those things. He's being prosecuted for advancing his own personal interests, oftentimes at odds with American hegemonic power. That is the problem. That's the reason why, you know, Nixon
I'm
could
surviving.
get into legal trouble and legal scrutiny in the same way that Trump could get into legal trouble and legal scrutiny, and even in the way that maybe even Bill Clinton could get into legal trouble and legal scrutiny, but not in the same way that Barack Obama could, right? For drone striking, extrajudiciously murdering an American citizen, which, by the way, Trump also killed another member of that person's family, for the record, who was also an American citizen as well. So, but of course, no one cares about that.
No,
everyone cares about
maybe it might give permanent peanuts.
Fraud
Yeah,
that he's engaging in, that he is engaged in, according to
it should be permanent. Yeah, it would be permanent.
The January 6th insurrection, or a litany of other issues. His only current defense is whataboutism. It's so insane. Well, like I've said, debate lords are lawyers. Lawyers are debate lords. And the more you level up in your debate lord mentality, the higher you reach in the justice system. Supreme Court justices of the United States of America being like the maximum, like the maxed out debate lord status. So for that reason, yes, I do think that whataboutism is not exactly valid in a court of law, but it's still used, and people use it all the time. They do it specifically to, I guess, change the minds of the jury. But there was no jury in this situation because maybe somebody failed to file the right paperwork. I don't know who. Anyway, let's continue. Let's see what CNN has to say.
Let's get the latest from inside the courtroom now with CNN's Paula Reed. She's live outside the courthouse for us. Paula, a bit of a surprise that the judge would allow Donald Trump to address the court.
Easy clap.
Nothing is surprising here, Boris, but things certainly taking a turn in the last few minutes. We know yesterday there were negotiations we had learned between the Trump team and the judge here about possibly allowing Trump to participate in closing arguments. Now, this would be highly unusual. Closing arguments are an opportunity for lawyers to summarize their case. The Trump team would not agree to some restrictions the judge laid out, insisting that Trump stick to the material and relevant information and not attack the district attorney or the judge. So things had been business as usual here. The closing arguments went forward. Trump's attorney, Chris Kise, summarized his argument. Other attorneys got up to summarize theirs. But then Chris Kise got up just a few moments ago.
I was just doing Australian banter. I'm sorry.
Trump could address
Why are you
the
sorry?
court. And he then launched into what our colleagues who were inside described as a monologue, telling the court, quote, "The facts are the financial statements are perfect. There are no witnesses against us. The banks got all their money paid back. There were great loans. This was a political witch hunt."
Holy
That
moly.
is really how Trump and his lawyers have framed this entire case, as a politically
I want WhatsApp, and I'm donking on this chat. I thought I didn't understand how this weekly worked, but I was wrong. It's hippo tank, and I'm beating all of chat. You can stream snipe away, but I will tell you to take the L today.
Making his case to the court, but also arguing with the judge and the restrictions the judge wanted to put on him. Now,
Okay, last game, and then I need to go, everyone.
Right next to me. Kara was
Same
inside
thing.
the court earlier for oral arguments. Now, Kara, you
Oh,
called it.
okay.
You knew that
It'll have to just be LB then.
without participating in some way.
Okay, there we go. LB,
That's
there
the
we
whole
go.
point. That's the reason why he
Name
ran.
has changed.
He
It's
didn't
LB
have
now.
to go. He did not have to attend this.
Yeah, I'm being
court proceeding.
toxic, of course, dude.
He wanted to
Bro.
go specific.
You guys stream snipe the fuck out of me. Do not even, like, tell me that you don't, okay? I know you motherfuckers, okay? So when I get a W, it's like, yeah. I don't? Okay, dude.
And it doesn't happen. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the judge allowed Trump to speak, because part of the reasoning he gave initially...
Only have one monitor?
Strategically speaking, do you think these trials are a good idea? I feel like it helps keep his base
Bro,
together.
that's like, how can you be German and only have one monitor?
I think it's perfectly valid for whoever to be prosecuted for
I'm joking.
institutions, okay? If
Oh,
you are
God.
greatly overvaluing
Sorry, you're not German, you're South African.
to a degree that is like beyond comprehension, because this stuff happens all the time, especially in real estate, okay? There's a lot of tricksters, but the idea
Wow.
that you can do it in the way that Trump did, where you look at like a property that is maybe maximum 100 million and valued at like 1 point whatever billion, then yeah, when you're getting out loans, well, simultaneously, when you're paying taxes on said property,
so fucking insane. Holy fuck.
This is actually costing me quite a bit as a depreciating asset. Then at that point, I do personally believe you should get a little bit of legal.
They just like bomb The Hague, dude.
That is the entire point of the court system, right?
Oh my god.
So, I think that's fine.
Last game.
It's ridiculous to just look at this and go, well, I don't know what the political backlash of such a thing is going to be. Well, it don't matter, right? I think as far as like the pure politics of it all, there are some court cases that are relatively sillier, right? The district attorney one launched in New York about like the hush money. I mean, there's still clear wrongdoing there, but it's not as like it definitely is a charge that was amplified because of Donald Trump's own personal doing about or no, I'm not talking about that's Dr.
Let's go, Bobby.
The other New York State case. That one is like definitely the weakest.
I can't do the
case
South
against
African
Donald
RP
Trump.
with
That
you
probably
guys, bro.
does.
It's fine. It's okay. Beetlejuice, none of what people are saying is like actually like lekker just means like good, okay? Lekker, like lekker. It's like that's cool. That's lekker. How's it is just like how is it? It's another way of saying hello. Braai is just like South African word for barbecue, okay? Like cooking meat on the braai. It's a very, very, very South African thing, like insanely. Yeah, we need to start gatekeeping. So true, Jason. Yeah, and Joel, you can see Divan DT is another like actual South African. He can Joel with us. Joel just means like you can Joel with us, you can go with us, like you can be part of our group. Like that's one thing, but generally Joel means like you can party with us, you can come to the braai, okay? You want to have a do South Africans say because there isn't really like there aren't really like Z's in Afrikaans, right? Zol means cigs. No, but that's boomer shit, and it doesn't mean cigs. It means weed. Okay, it means a doobie. It means a joint. That's what Zol means. Okay.
You're probably a little bit more tuned in to what's going on.
Geselig.
And I don't think they care.
Geselig. I don't know what that is, but anyway. But if you actually like want to talk about what a cigarette is, it's a guai or an inchi in Cape Town. A guai. And then what else? Oh, another like this will blow. Okay, we've got one last spot for SAP, by the way, and then we're gonna start. So this actually blows people's minds. A traffic light in South Africa is called. Say it with me, South Africans. What do we call a traffic light? A robot, yeah. It's just a robot, like the red robot. The robots are red. It's just a traffic light. Nobody fucking says traffic light.
Fraction. Right? That is the
Bemji, do not Bergie is actually like a derogatory word for someone who's homeless. Bemji. Yeah, say copy. When the roleplay goes too far, yeah. Hill RP. Okay, one last spot and sap. We're gonna start now. That's so fucking funny.
Both candidates that are slated to become their party candidates are very unpopular, and even unpopular in their own parties as well to a certain degree. Obviously, I think Trump, if he reaches the candidacy point, if he gets out of the primaries, which I think he will, he is going to be able to capture the base again. But is the base of support enough for him to win? I don't think so. That's the problem. The Republican Party's, passionate supporters are not enough to win a national campaign. But on the other hand,
when the RP goes too hard,
on the other hand, you have Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, which has all of the opportunity to have profound victories all around the country, casting it aside. And it's crazy. It feels like they are. You know what it feels like? It feels like the Democratic Party is playing down to the level of their competition. It literally feels like if you had like a retired basketball player, a professional NBA player, okay, who's well past his prime, but like he could still easily dunk on a bunch of like kindergartners, but he's just like nerfing himself for no reason whatsoever. That's what it feels like. And of course, the stakes are much higher than a basketball, like a recreational game of basketball. UIT did a segment that proposed the point is to be silly and ridiculous that people check out. Actually made a comparison to the rise of Hitler. The propaganda has always been honorable down to his hand movement in his speeches, but now he's even quoting the MFer. No, I don't think so. Anyway, but I don't know if he's like, I think if Trump was, that interested in Hitler,
Fish used to be so good.
Repeat
and
Hitler.
Do you guys remember old Fish?
That would require him to care about anything outside of himself, and I don't think he cares about anything other than himself. Like, I don't think he's ever fancied another individual, whether it be Hitler or not. Like, sure, he has a lot of political opinions that are adjacent, dare I say, Hitlerian. But I don't think he's the type of dude who's going to sit there, read a book, and like desperately try to craft his own persona off of like Adolf Hitler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they fucked snails so bad as well, dude.
I think he knows what hits. I think he knows how to read the room. And he is a great marketer for a very specific audience. And I think, he understands what the Republican base of support is looking for. But sometimes his own personal narcissism gets in the way of that. Like when he kept talking about January 6th over and over and over again. Or when he kept talking about how the election was stolen from him over and over and over again. And he legitimately pushed larger swaths of the Republican base away from himself. Like, part of the reason why the, I guess, suburban whites that normally would vote for the Republican Party reliably, normally that there would be normal Republican voters are moving away from the Republican Party and voting for the Democratic Party a little bit, is because, I think they got sick and tired of hearing him constantly say the election was stolen from him. That's it. This is embarrassing, but look how bad Haley kills Biden. Yeah, well, Haley needs to make it out the mud, and I don't think she's going to be able to, so that's not a thing that you need to worry about at this moment. And yes, Nikki Haley is like a dream Democratic Party candidate for many Democrats, I think. I'll be honest. Just like your dream should be to avoid the top of the hour ad break, which is a bad, not a good, but a bad segue, because we are going to now move on to the International Court of Justice. From the American civil courts in New York to the International Court of Justice, I am bringing on Jeremy Scahill to come on board and talk to us about the International Court of Justice, where South Africa has started its case against the state of Israel. All right, let me turn off my camera really quick. I'm going to start the video call now. Hello? Okay, I can't see you. I don't know if you can hear me. Oh, I can see you now. Can you hear me? You won't be able to see me yet. But can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you as well. All right, perfect.
Oh, I might stay on to hear all of this.
We're doing live production.
But I do need to go to bed.
So, you know, it's a little bit wonky at times. Oh, wait, actually, you know what? Let me see if I could just do the virtual camera on here. Let's see.
Oh, he's loving playing with this virtual camera, dude.
There it is. Okay, now you'll be able to see me. Okay, let's do the pop out. All right, Jeremy Scale, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, first time caller, long time fan.
Same here.
I'm very okay. You don't mean that. You don't have to say that. Don't worry. Okay. Is there any way to like raise your microphone volume a little bit? Is this the microphone that you
don't need to say that
podcast on as well?
Yeah. Hold on here. All right.
No, I've cranked up your volume.
This is the first time that I've used this Discord platform. Hold on a second. I know this is totally embarrassing. I said on Twitter that my parents love your show.
That was also, I assume, fake news.
My mom is watching right now, and it's totally. I told her not to click on anything.
Come on, Bobby. Let's go, Bobby.
Yeah, no, don't.
Is this better? I made it louder.
Yeah, it is better for sure. All right. So some things happened this past day. Or I guess last night, from where I'm at. I'm in Los Angeles. The case against Israel started. Case being genocide. And you've covered it. You wrote an article on The Intercept on the matter, and I wanted to talk to you about it. There's obviously some other stuff that we could talk about, but
already
I think that
I'm
it's
seeing
important. You know, the
chat is being like, why is South Africa why does South Africa do this? You know, isn't South Africa still an apartheid?
On why Israel is committing acts of genocide upon the Palestinian population, something that they've basically brought about themselves. So there are two different things I want to ask you. One, what is the difference between the International Court of Justice versus the ICC, the International Criminal Court?
Do they have phones in South Africa? No.
Yep. I mean, on a political level, the International Criminal Court has always sort of been viewed as a U.S.-dominated tool. And for much of its history, it operated in an ad hoc manner. So you had the war in Yugoslavia in the 1990s. So the United States advocated for setting up an ad hoc tribunal rather than implementing a permanent international criminal court. In fact, the United States does not recognize the International Criminal Court as having jurisdiction over all countries. It prefers for nations in Africa primarily to be subjected to the jurisdiction of something that nonetheless is called an International Criminal Court. And in fact, both Democrats and Republicans alike throughout U.S. history have undermined the U.S. actually fully accepting that an international court would have jurisdiction over the United States. One wild thing that's totally true, but a lot of people don't know about it, is that in 2002, George Bush signed into law a piece of legislation that had widespread bipartisan support.
Yeah, I'll do another round after this.
That came to be known as the Hague Invasion Act. Yeah. And what that law says.
I need to be awake at 6 a.m., but it'll be okay.
Yep.
Interestingly, Joe Biden voted against it. But that law is still in the books. And what it says is that not only does the United States not recognize the International Criminal Court as having jurisdiction over the U.S. and its allies, but that if there is ever an attempt to prosecute any US
I want to watch this.
Or the personnel of any, or extradite or bring any sort of proceedings at the International Criminal Court against U.S. personnel, not just soldiers, any U.S. personnel, or personnel of allies of the United States, that the president of the United States...
Yeah, we don't have phones. That wasn't like my ESCOM app just pinging right there telling me that an area around me has load shedding coming up. Not my area, but an area around me that I sometimes visit, so I have it as a ping.
They've had to come. So the ICC is overwhelmingly a court that is used by powerful nations to prosecute the Yugoslavias and the Rwandas of the world, and the vast majority of the cases that have been prosecuted there have been against involving African nations. When we talk about the International Court of Justice, this is the official world court that was set up by the United Nations in the aftermath of World War II. And the United States actually has been convicted at that court of terrorism. It was convicted in the early 1980s for the mining of the waters around Nicaragua when the United States was fueling the dirty wars in Central America. And the U.S. was actually convicted at the court. One tidbit of history, though, is that the president of the current tribunal that is hearing the genocide case that South Africa brought against Israel, the current judge in that case, who is the head of it, is an American judge named Joan Donoghue. So the Americans have the presidency of the court right now that is hearing a genocide case against its dear friend Israel. So Joan Donoghue, if people watched it today, you saw her. She was the one that was presiding over it. She was one of the lawyers for the United States when they were convicted of terrorism at the World Court for mining the harbors in Nicaragua, and she now is the president of that tribunal. Now, having said that, the International Court of Justice is widely viewed as a much more neutral force when it comes to
Can I interject here real quickly and ask you a question?
I'll ban you for stream sniping.
If I'm not mistaken, the Nicaragua court case also still had an American judge on it, obviously.
Yeah.
And the American judge actually ruled against the United States interests in that court case, as far as I remember. So, that is a unique situation. Yeah.
I'm throwing that out there because I think that certainly the United States would like to assert its influence over any judgment there, but that's not always how American lawyers operate. Not every single American, even though this judge is close to Hillary Clinton, even though she was one of the lawyers defending the United States in its own case before the court, doesn't necessarily mean that she won't be fair. But what we do know is that the Biden administration has already preemptively said that this case is without merit, and has said that charges of genocide are ludicrous and have no basis. So they're already doing a sort of preemptive defense of Israel. But the United States is not in control of the International Court of Justice the way that it is able to assert its influence over the ICC. So now, having said that, even if this court rules that, so first of all, people should understand this. What South Africa is asking for right now in an urgent manner is not to convict Israel of genocide, not to even find that Israel is engaged in genocidal conduct. What South Africa is arguing is that there should be a trial of Israel for genocide, and they walk through the Genocide Convention in meticulous detail. But what they're actually asking for is for the court to issue what they call provisional measures. What does that mean? It means that they're saying that if this court has jurisdiction, and if there is enough evidence to take it to trial, that the court should order the defendant, Israel, to halt its military operations, because failure to do so, in the event that it's true that Israel is committing genocide, would mean that it is now blood on the hands of the court for refusing to stop an ongoing criminal activity when they had the authority to do so. So a lot of people think Netanyahu's going to be on trial. That's not what this is about. What this is about now is that South Africa, as a signatory to the Genocide Convention, has the right to bring a case. Any country could have done this that's a signatory to the convention. It's significant that South Africa brought it because of its history with apartheid and terrorism in its own country, an apartheid backed by the United States. It's also significant that the South Africans had a very brilliant lawyer from Ireland, and Ireland has been very outspoken, perhaps more than any European country, in standing up for the Palestinians during this slaughter. So what the South Africans asked for today was for the court to issue provisional measures instructing Israel to cease its military operations in Gaza, pending litigation on the question of whether or not Israel is committing genocide.
Yeah. So and today they laid the facts out, which are so public and so broad. And one distinction here, if I'm not mistaken, is that the ICC has the capacity to convict people, whereas the ICJ is just for UN nations, and it's a nation versus nation thing. So,
this is why, for instance, I'm glad that you're raising this point.
I should have saved
so, for
it.
instance, many of the leaders in the former Yugoslavia stood trial as individuals, including heads of states. Slobodan Milosevic, the former president of Yugoslavia and then Serbia, died during the course of his trial, actually, at The Hague. And
very famously.
What's well, yeah, and you also had that thing where the guy took it looked like he was taking a shot of whiskey, but he was actually poisoning himself and died. I mean, this happened also at the International Criminal Court. So it's a crazy scene there. But so Israel is basically, their defense is basically going to amount to repeating October 7th, like 8 bazillion times, October 7th. And one of the lawyers for the South Africans, who actually was a rather old British lawyer, was tasked today at the court with sort of preempting some of Israel's arguments. And what he said was, Israel is going to seek to say that Hamas should actually be on trial here instead of Israel. But what this lawyer pointed out, he didn't make an emotional statement. He said, Hamas is not a nation state. Hamas is not a party to the Genocide Convention.
They could. Israel could technically, if they wanted to, try to, from what I understand, they could technically go to the ICJ, but that would require them to recognize Palestine as a nation state, I think, with a tacit recognition that, like, Palestinians have autonomy, and that goes against their overarching interest of dominating them. Am I not correct on that?
There is that, but also there's a radical oversimplification of what Hamas is that takes place in the international discourse. You have Hamas as a political entity, and then you have the military wing of Hamas. And I'm not trying to nitpick here, but facts actually matter. And Israel's entire narrative is that this is not a governing body, this is a terrorist actor. Yeah. And so what the lawyers for South Africa said today was there are proper venues to prosecute the war crimes that Hamas may have committed, but this isn't it. And then went further and said the United Nations recognizes that Gaza is still occupied territory. Israel disputes that and says, oh, we pulled out, we removed our settlements. What the United Nations has found repeatedly is that Gaza still constitutes an occupied territory because Israel is entirely in control of its land, its air, its sea, all basic necessities of life that come in and out of there. When Israel's defense minister said early on in this, we're going to shut everything down, the electricity, the food, etc., he meant it because Israel knows how to do it because they have been doing it for a very long time. While Israel is going to try to make Hamas the defendant in this case, I don't think that is going to fly, even with the American judge. As much as the United States and the Biden administration constantly goes back to October 7th as being a justification for, the mass killing of tens of thousands of people, the maiming of tens of thousands of people, the extraordinary level of death of children.
The
fact of the matter is, and the South African lawyer said this, retribution is no justification for genocide. You can't wage a war of revenge. And if international law is going to matter, then facts are going to matter. And so Israel's entire defense that we have the right to do whatever we want because of October 7th actually is not consistent with any basic principles of international law. It's just a fact.
Yeah. As the belligerent occupier, a case can't even be made to a right to defense against the people that you are the belligerent occupier over as well. So there is the notion of, like, this is my assessment of the situation, is what I've been saying, at least, is like, on October 7th, inside of the boundaries of what is known as Israel proper, yes, the Israeli occupying force, the Israeli Defense Force, did have the right to defend its citizens like a police force would, right? Whereas everything beyond that, especially the Gaza operations, would constitute as something outside of the bounds of a right to defense that Israel does not have. It's as a belligerent occupier. It doesn't.
Well, also, look, I find myself saying this when I argue with people. I heard you on the show earlier talking about conversations with normies. I'm surrounded in my entire life by normies. My family, we're from the Midwest. I talk to people all the time.
He's not a normie.
And the thing is, like, the way that this has been portrayed.
The first
Beetlejuice, narrative on this was that 1,400 civilians were killed. That was the first draft of history that was promoted by the Israelis about what happened on October 7th. When you actually start to review the details, it's much more complicated.
Fuck you.
We're talking about just under 800 civilians that were documented to have been killed. We're talking about a couple hundred soldiers that were killed. Hamas attacked a number of military installations. Certainly, war crimes were committed that day, without question. I think it's utterly atrocious to take old people, babies. There was one 10-month-old that was taken hostage. I mean, no one with a heart and a brain would be defending that conduct. And no one with a heart and a brain should be defending the conduct that Israel engages in regularly when it arrests children, and puts them in military tribunals. So if we want to talk about facts, then we need to understand which groups did what on October 7th, because you had Hamas, you had Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and then you had what appeared to be independent
fucking
actors
Moose
that came
Maxer,
in.
dude.
We then have to break down once the siege was laid.
Just move to fucking Canada,
to the
okay?
kibbutzes and to the music festival. What did the response of the Israelis look like? If you read the Israeli press, in many ways, it's much more open and transparent about what actually happened on October 7th than the American press. There is a very serious discussion right now in Israel about how many Israelis were killed by the Israeli military when they responded to Hamas. And this is not conspiracy theory stuff. This is in mainstream Israeli newspapers.
Ynet.
And Ynet, Haaretz,
They're not tier
major
one.
TV networks have
Isn't
been
it
interviewing
higher?
witnesses who describe
it might
the
be tier
Israeli
one.
forces shelling it. You have a history in Israel there's a number of doctrines, the Hannibal Doctrine and others I'm sure you've talked about before, where there are times when Israel prefers to actually kill its own people before they can be taken hostage. There are other Dahia Doctrine and others that say that it's acceptable to kill your own civilians if you need it to shut down a terrorist operation. So I'm not saying that I know all of the facts. What I'm saying is none of us do right now. And there has been a lot of inflammatory, incendiary allegations made, because if you say it was Hamas, you can accuse them of anything. You can say that they were literally eating people's body organs on that day, and there's a significant portion of the Israeli public, and unfortunately the American public, that will believe it without requesting a single shred of evidence.
John Fetterman.
Hey, I'll do you one better. Joe Biden. Joe Biden is out there. He, not once, not twice, but at least 3 times, Joe Biden has said that he saw pictures of babies that were beheaded by Hamas. Not even the Israeli government continues to make that assertion. I read the names of every single Israeli civilian that has been identified as being killed. There was a little girl who was 10 months old that was shot while she was in her mother's arms. She is the only child under 1 that was documented to have been killed that day. There were a number of other children. The Israelis initially said 40 babies were beheaded. They told stories about living children being placed in ovens. There is no evidence, but the most powerful person in the world, Joe Biden, or at least Joe Biden, the body of Joe Biden is filling the position of the most powerful person in the world. He keeps repeating this propaganda. They laid siege to Al-Shifa Hospital, telling us there was a Hamas Pentagon underneath it. And then when the Israelis actually went in there, the Baghdad Bob of the IDF takes cameras down there, and what do they find? They find something that looks kind of like an old underground operating room with an air conditioner that wasn't even attached, and it looked like no one had been in there for a very long time. I wouldn't be shocked if Hamas guys hung out in hospitals. I know from reporters that often people would meet people to do interviews there. There's a difference between that and firing RPGs from the roof of Al-Shifa. There's a difference between that and actually having a Hamas Pentagon under Al-Shifa. So the United States said, we have our own intelligence that indicates that that's true. The entire thing was a fraud. It was a fraud intended to give cover to Israel to lay siege to civilian targets. So to bring it back to what we're talking about today with this hearing, I didn't learn a single thing that I didn't already know from what the lawyers for South Africa said today, because everything they were saying is in the public domain.
Yeah.
But what was chilling about it was to hear it in a court that under the law has the authority to say to Israel, this must stop immediately. And that actually is worth something, because it's going to call the question to nations around the world on whether they believe in international law or they think that the United States should continue to be the emperor over
Fuck, I've got so much hopium right now.
where it dictates who the law applies to and who it doesn't apply to. One final thing, it was really chilling when they started reciting, and if you read their 84-page filing, the South Africans, over the course of 9 full pages, they are citing quotes from Israeli officials that are clearly genocidal in nature. Not just Benjamin Netanyahu invoking the biblical tale of Amalek and, kill all their children, their women, the babies, the livestock, but others talking about genocidal intent. And what they did is they played some of those by video, they read others, and then they connected it to soldiers on the ground clearly understanding those as official orders. That is genocidal intent. And, I was struck by the thought, because I followed all these statements that these guys have made, these criminal genocidal statements. But hearing it in that court today, I realized the reason that Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant and all these other people feel so comfortable making such shocking genocidal statements publicly is that they have the confidence that nothing will ever happen to them as a result of making those statements. It doesn't even register to them that anyone would be able to hold them accountable, because the bully of the world is their backer, the United States. And already these toadies, John Kirby at the White House, National Security Council, Matt Miller, a guy who has no soul and no conscience, out there every day shilling for the genocidal operations.
Who's done such a piss poor job that even the IDF had to, at a certain point, be like, all right. You're getting ahead of this, and you're causing political pressure for us internally inside of Israel by speculating on, like, potentially the reasons as to why Hamas is not releasing some of the female IDF soldiers, which at the time was, once again, like you've mentioned, presented as though these were also female civilians and not like active enemy combatants that they'd held captive as prisoners of war, as hostages, and that they were refusing to release them. And Miller famously speculated that it's because
one more round after this, and I really have to go.
Either has harmed them or wants to harm them further, and that's why they refused, and that's why the negotiations fell apart. This was so out there and caused so much political turmoil in Israel that the IDF had to correct the American State Department.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally true. I mean, when you have people like Benjamin Netanyahu saying, "Hey, tone it down a little bit," like that says something. It reminds me though, Hassan, of this story about Biden from which I think is one of the most revealing stories. I mean, first of all, people should understand Joe Biden's been in office longer than almost any American politician. 50 years, senator, vice president, president, and since 1973, he's been a totally committed Zionist. He calls himself, Israel's best Catholic friend. But in 1982, when the Israelis invaded Lebanon, a guy named Menachem Begin was the prime minister of Israel. And he comes to Washington because the Reagan administration actually, even though they were, Reagan was an incredibly pro-Israel president, but they were concerned about the mounting civilian death toll.
One more round.
At one point, Reagan even told the Israelis that it's starting to look like a Holocaust. He used the term Holocaust. So contrast that with, Biden today.
Which one, guys?
But Biden at the time was a senator. So Menachem Begin comes to Washington and he gets grilled by all these American senators over the rising civilian death toll. And Begin then goes back to Israel. He talks to reporters and he tells reporters, but there was one senator who stood up. This is 1982. One senator who stood up and gave an impassioned defense of our invasion of Lebanon and said that if he was in the same position in the United States and he was dealing with a threat like that, he also would support the killing of women and children. And Begin says, that senator was a guy named Joe Biden.
We haven't done puppy back in a while.
And Begin himself was a war criminal from 1948 in the Irgun militias, as part of the original Nakba. So this guy is saying, I had to tell that senator, no, those aren't our values. So Biden, even back then in 1982, was going further than the Israelis in, at least in this meeting with Begin, in defending the killing of women and children. No one should pretend that Biden doesn't enthusiastically support what's happening right now. His entire career indicates that that's exactly what he believes. And also Antony Blinken has never met a war in the Middle East that he just wasn't, fucking in love with.
Yeah. He has been a very enthusiastic supporter, and I think he's ideologically stuck at a different time. Like, I think maybe because of his brain capacity diminishing or whatever. But like, I do think that that there is a diminish, like our soft power and our influence around the world as the United States of America is like waning a little bit.
All right.
Right now.
Last round for real this time.
Yet I feel as though this is the reason why there's so much division even in the State Department as far as what we see in the media, with people coming out and saying like, we got to dial this back. Even Anthony Blinken, who, like you correctly pointed out, has never met a war he doesn't like in the Middle East, was on after meeting with Hakan Fidan in Turkey on October 8th, had actually tweeted, knowing full well what was about to happen, the scale of the atrocities that Israel was about to commit, had tweeted out to a cessation of the hostilities and then quickly deleted it. And I feel like this is there's a reason for that. And I think that they're internally, they recognize that letting Israel operate in the way that it has with impunity has made it
Four spots left.
made
Three
America look
spots
weaker
left.
in
spots
the
left.
eyes of the rest of the world, in my opinion. I feel as though this this also is a grave threat to those who want to maintain the American empire to a certain degree.
Look at, I mean, yeah, I mean, a bunch of things there I think are really smart points. I mean, also with the, with the war in Ukraine and the fact that the United States and NATO, and particularly Germany now has totally transformed itself into a war machine where it is exporting military hardware. It's starting to flirt now with troop deployments. It's becoming a very aggressive. It's sort of like a mini. It wants to become apparently like a mini America in Europe right now. What though is what's lingering on the sides of this? Look at China. China has
One
for
spot
many
left.
decades operated in a much smarter way than the United States on the continent of Africa in its approach to international conflict. China is now under Xi Jinping making a run at sort of being a global diplomatic force to try to make peace between different countries. So, I mean, I think that the United States is flailing in its imperial project in many ways. But what you're also seeing, like in the case of the Gaza war right now, there's this axis of resistance that's been formed, as it's called in Iran, where you have the Iranians, you have Hezbollah in Lebanon, you have Hamas in Gaza, you have the Ansar al-Islam in Yemen, the Houthis. That's a whole other story unto itself. Yeah. I've spent a lot of time in Yemen. The Yemen declares war against Israel and has implemented a very successful blockade to the point where that they have the most powerful Western military forces in the world now deploying to go after the poorest country in the Arab world. And they are defiant, utterly defiant.
By the way, this just broke. This just broke, actually, according to the political editor of the Times, Stephen Swinford. Britain is now expected to join the U.S. in carrying airstrikes on Houthi military positions in Yemen tonight. Rishi Sunak briefed cabinet on imminent military intervention this evening. Sir Keir Starmer, Labour leader, and Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the Commons Speaker, have also been briefed. So they are finally, I guess, even the British are finally getting involved in trying to combat this blockade, which I think is moral and just, by the way. That's my personal perspective on it. You don't have to agree with like Ansar Allah's political positions or whatever, but ultimately I do think that they're doing the right thing.
I mean, look at I asked really early on in this slaughter in Gaza that the Israelis are conducting. I talked to Rashid Khalidi, the one of the most important Palestinian intellectuals in the world, a professor at Columbia University, and I was asking him, about Arab nations and their position, just sort of watching this happen. And he said it's been many decades before any of them, since any of them have been willing to do anything. So for Yemen to do this is quite extraordinary. And in the eyes of many in the Arab street, they're utter heroes for what they're doing. Set aside, who the Houthis are or what's happened in Yemen. Just the fact that everyone is watching this mass slaughter and saying, where are the Arab nation states? Why is no one confronting Israel? It actually matters. And look, what's happening in Lebanon is really concerning. You know, the Israelis are intensifying their attacks. Hezbollah is also carried out a strike against a fairly significant Israeli military base. The Israelis have had to evacuate tens of thousands of their own citizens from the border with Lebanon. And let me tell you something: Hezbollah ain't Hamas. You know, Hezbollah is a much more serious fighting force with much more sophisticated weaponry. I mean, Hamas largely is manufacturing its own weapons. I mean, obviously, it gets weapons smuggled in. You know, there's no question about that. But Hamas is at a stage where Hezbollah was, 10 plus years ago, and so Hezbollah is also the only force in recent years to defeat Israel. And if the Israelis think that they're going to be able to fight a multi-front war without constant U.S. rearmament, they're sadly mistaken. Because the reason that Antony Blinken keeps having to circumvent congressional review to push through emergency shipments of tank shells is that the Israelis can't sustain this without the United States. So when people say, "Oh, what do you want Biden to do? He's not the president of Israel." No, he's the arms dealer of Israel. He's the political defender of Israel. If Biden wanted this thing shut down, it would be shut down. That's what happened in 2021. Biden basically said to Netanyahu,
phone call.
You've let it burn enough." And within 48 hours, there was a peace deal being brokered between with the Egyptians and Israel.
Even this time around, when Yoav Gallant, who famously, the defense minister, said we're fighting human animals, and that's why we have to shut off their food, electricity, and everything, like all aid going into Gaza, had to back away from that position at least marginally early, like a month into the ethnic cleansing campaign. And when Israeli media asked him why he is allowing aid to go into Gaza, albeit limited aid, but still any aid to go into Gaza, he very famously said, and this was like often not really reported in American media, but he very famously said, "Well, what am I supposed to do? America asked us to do that. What am I going to do? Say no to America?" And that is the reality, and that's precisely the reason why Israel, in my opinion, does probably more media, more Western-facing media in English than it does in Hebrew for its own domestic audience. And there's proof for this as well. Benjamin Netanyahu has actually appeared on Western television more times since October 7th than he has on Israeli television. So there's a reason for that. It's because he already has a tremendous amount of support for the actions in Gaza. He doesn't have a lot of support overall. Obviously, the overwhelming majority of the Israeli population want him to resign immediately. But
yeah, I mean, his constituency is along the Potomac. It's and I mean, one other interesting thing about that, and it doesn't really get talked about a lot. But Israel, I think Israel is actually militarily losing the war against Hamas. And people might say, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Israel's waged a very effective campaign against the civilians of Gaza. They really have perfected the art of mass murder of women and children and the elderly, and killing 200 plus medical workers, destroying all of the hospitals, causing starvation, causing endemic diarrhea among children. They're really successful at the war they're waging against the civilians.
It'd be interesting
but
to
if
use
you
Mandel.
actually are monitoring both the Israeli propaganda and Hamas's media channels, Hamas is constantly posting videos of them blowing up, of their operatives blowing up Israeli tanks, killing Israeli soldiers. There's one video where a Hamas operative pops up from a tunnel hatch in the middle of a camp where Israeli soldiers are just sitting around, hanging out, and they film them around, just showing we can access you anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
These tunnels that they have under Gaza, hundreds of kilometers of them, the Israelis captured video from an engineering corps of Hamas building some of these tunnels. And, they have to use equipment that doesn't register seismically to dig out some of these tunnels because the Israelis have such extensive surveillance around it. But there's a video of Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas, his brother Mohammed, driving a car through the tunnels. And he's sort of like, take a right here, then a left there. The Israelis have not penetrated even a fraction of these tunnels. And so the point I'm getting at here is that this is going to hit a point where Hamas is not going to be defeated. Israel desperately needs to kill Mohammed Daif or, the military commander of Qassam brigades or Abu Ubaidah, the spokesperson, or Yahya Sinwar. They have to kill somebody so they can say, we did it. Here's our victory. But the reality is that they're not even militarily defeating Hamas right now. They are militarily exterminating and expelling the Palestinian population, forcing them into a smaller and smaller killing cage. That's what they're doing. But, top Israeli defense reporters are starting to hint at this, that this isn't going well for Israel on a tactical military level.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's the classic struggle against an occupying power as well, just like Ho Chi Minh has said before. And I think even either it was the PFLP or the DFLP leader at the time who said, you kill 10 of us, we kill one of yours, we're not going anywhere. It's going to end when you get tired, right? And remember, that is the dynamic.
And remember that people will say, "Oh yeah, well look what happened to ISIS, in Iraq." Hamas is not ISIS, you know, and Hamas. No one wants to really talk about this, but why does Hamas exist? I mean, part of the story has to do with Netanyahu and other extremists in Israel wanting Hamas to exist because they viewed it as the best way to prevent a Palestinian state. If you had people that were perceived as extremists or violent jihadists or what have you. But the reason, the political reason why Hamas or Hezbollah or any of these groups exist is because of the occupation, is because of settler colonialism, is because of imperial agendas, is because of exterminating people from their lands. And the people of Gaza in particular, and I'm sure you remember this, Hassan, in 2018 and 2019, the Palestinians organized a massive nonviolent series of marches that spanned months. Every Friday, it was called the Great March of Return. And Israel responded with utter force to those nonviolent demonstrations. In fact, Israeli snipers, some of them who gave their actual name, have openly admitted in the Israeli media that they were keeping account of who could shoot the most kneecaps of Palestinian
42
protesters.
in one day. One IDF sniper openly stated. So, the IDF itself took ownership over it. The IDF itself took ownership over it when they tweeted out and then quickly deleted, even though B'Tselem captured it for posterity, that they had accounted for every single bullet and where it had landed. Tens of thousands of people were intentionally maimed, wounded by Israeli sniper rifles. I mean, pregnant women were killed.
So when that is the response to a nonviolent demonstration, which presumably is what the world is telling the Palestinians, that's the proper way to resist Israel, is nonviolently. You don't do things like raid a military base or kidnap a soldier or take a soldier prisoner. Those things are unacceptable, but nonviolent protest, that's acceptable. Well, actually, it's not acceptable because then you get shot in the kneecap or you have pregnant women getting shot. So when that is the message, what means do the Palestinians have of resistance? Why is it that Hamas now, the armed resistance in Gaza right now, is incredibly popular among Palestinians? Why is that? Is it because everyone loves Hamas? No, it's because a child is Hamas, a journalist is Hamas, the hospital is Hamas, everyone in Gaza is Hamas. There are no children, there are no civilians. The UN is Hamas. The UN Secretary General is Hamas. Ireland is Hamas, Spain is Hamas, South Africa is Hamas, Belgium is Hamas. When everyone becomes Hamas, when you shoot and murder nonviolent protesters, when you intentionally kneecap them with sniper bullets, of course the only means available to the people is armed resistance. Yeah. It's also what happened with the Irish. It's what happened in South Africa. It's what happened in revolutionary struggles all over the world.
I'm just getting owned.
And I'll say one last thing on this. No one should believe a single word that ever comes out of the mouth of Israeli government spokespeople unless there's like 3 or 4 independent sources showing that it's true, because they have lied about everything. And, it's not that I say, give Hamas the benefit of any doubt. It's that you don't give Israel the benefit of any doubt. Like, Israel lies repeatedly, and it's documentable through this entire, we can talk about the last 3 months, but you can also talk about decades. They're lying about everything constantly. So their word should not be worth a penny when it comes to a statement of the facts on the ground in Gaza. Nothing. Yeah.
And Western media absolutely is complicit because they have basically a standing IDF spokesperson early on, since October 8th, to immediately contextualize the violence that the Israeli forces are subjecting the Palestinian people to in their ethnic cleansing campaign. And even and beyond that, whenever Israel will come out as a state actor and openly lie and even deliver inconsistent, sometimes incoherent evidence, false evidence as to whether they were the ones who struck the Al Ahli hospital or the Al Shifa hospital, and how Israel never would strike a hospital. Immediately, the media jumps on that and actually changes, in my opinion, the way they have covered the atrocities. Two things I wanted to point to here. One is an analysis that I saw. Hold on, let me see if I can pull this up really quickly. One is an analysis that I saw about the way that the atrocities have been covered in Western media and how. Oops, that's not. I'm at my bookmarks.
Oh, you're talking. This was a piece that The Intercept did. That it was Adam Johnson. You're talking about the analysis of American newspapers and how they cover Palestinian deaths versus Israeli deaths.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
okay.
The Intercept coverage, yes. The disproportionate coverage mentions of Palestinian deaths declined.
I need to go, but we're going to be rating Hassan because this coverage is too good.
Systematic bias for every two Palestinian deaths.
And I want you guys to obviously keep watching, even though I know all of you would be anyway. All right. I have to go. I have to be up very early tomorrow. All right. I'm going to send you all to Azan. Small streamer, by the way. See you guys tomorrow. I don't know when I'm going to be back. But there will be a stream tomorrow, so don't worry. All right. Bye, everyone.